All right, live in 3, 2, 1, boom. Hi, YouTube. Or as I would not necessarily rip off The Simpsons and go, hi, everybody. No one ever does it. For once, I just want to hear, hi, Dr. Nick, but with a crowd of people.
Hi, Dr. Jeremy.
I'm not Dr. Jeremy, no. No.
You play one on TV.
That's it. Oh, man. So yeah, we've had quite the happening in this opening market, and we're kind of chilling in a zone where if it doesn't hold this 388, we could see some serious bearishness into a third leg measured move, and 15-minute chart kind of depicts what we're expecting here. So, this becomes a whole leg. This becomes a whole leg, a third move. Would actually probably go to 385, but 382 is the critical floor. 388 is the tipping point. So if it breaks 388, we know it'll start continuing momentum. That's where it goes. 382 has been probably one of the best damn pivot targets we've had in a long time. We've been trading that thing for, going on a year and a half now, haven't we? Let's see, when did we first find? Like May of 2022, but we also had a visit with it back in here when it was resistance. So yeah, about a good long time there. The 382 has been a kind of a significant zone. I've always marked it on my charts in spite of all my mess here. 382 has been just a grade A player in this market. So I'm going to take another attempt at 388, and if this thing cracks, dude, everything else is just going to come unglued and start crushing. So this is like the threshold of today. Let's see, did we get anywhere with natural gas today?
I don't know. We got the stuff coming out in a few minutes.
Oh yeah, 11 o'clock. We shall see. I've got so many limit orders set on my phone. It makes it get hot. I don't know why it gets hot. I mean, the order goes to the broker, not through my phone, but oh, we just sit and watch. I guess we could start telling fishing stories.
I got a great one. So, many years ago, I went fishing with my grandmother, and I was out on a lake out in, oh my gosh, where was it? Fredericksburg. There's a little, camping park called the Wilderness.
Oh, okay.
I was out on a lake out there with her, and literally every single time we threw our rods out there and that bobber hit the water, we pulled back a fish.
Wow.
Every single time. So we walked away with probably 8 fish, and all of them were the right size to keep and eat. But when I was cleaning the fish, my grandfather had taught me to chop the head of the fish off and then scale it.
Right.
For whatever reason, when I had one of my grandmother's fish, I scaled the entire damn fish. Oh, sorry, the entire fish. I did not chop its head off, and I went into the water to rinse off the scales, and that thing swam off on me.
Oh no!
No scales. And my grandmother was she thought it was kind of funny, but then she felt bad for the fish. And but we had enough fish that we were able to fry up, more than enough for all of us, and we had some fried sunfish with lemon juice. It was awesome. I love sunfish.
Yeah.
It's probably
Sunfish
my favorite
delicious.
freshwater fish.
Love those things. They're just
But I
like
was amazed because like within an hour of fishing, like we had the entire like little cord of trolley like hooks and everything full of fish, and I've never before done that since or before. That was just like the epitome of fishing for me.
That's a good day.
Sorry, I moved funny.
All right.
Okay, let's see, 3906.75.
We ate 388 one more time.
If we break 3906.75, which was the pre-market Globex low, look out, we could go to 38.94.
All right, that angular's the last leg here. Just because we already broke the 388 doesn't mean doom and gloom yet. It's got to accumulate at some point.
Right, because we're still at a descending channel.
Right.
This is the second leg of a 1 minute bear trend.
Right.
We had one leg to pull back, and then we had the second leg, and that's where we are now.
Let me draw that real quick. As if my chart's not messy enough. Let's add
3906.75 is a key pivot right now.
It's messed up.
It's funny, as I had it several different ways, and Tradovate's got it too. And if I'm thinking what's going to happen is going to happen.
And not every descending wedge is going to be, a reversal pattern. And when they do fail, they do fail quickly and dramatically. But we know where the range is. We know exactly what to expect here. And the 388 is the critical pivot. We're below it. We've got that wedge. If the bulls take this, their target's going to be about 388.65, top of that liquidity zone. And we've been talking about these liquidity boxes, and realistically, they're just as simple as can be. It's basically the same thing when we take and draw a pivot at a point of interest, where it's a top or bottom of a bar. But we always ignore the wicks when we draw trend lines and pivot zones. The wick itself is the liquidity. That's where things changed hands really rapidly and turned around. So you mark that as a zone, and then it makes sense. That's your supply zone. That was your demand zone. Well, since we got things happening in thirds, we've got a measured move leg. That extension takes us down to another supply zone, another demand zone, just below that angular support. If we get momentum, we could get the third leg and probably head for like 386.75, and we can breach every level on the way. And I know one analyst calls that, or several analysts call it machine gunning the pivots, or what have you. They crack one, they crack the next, they crack the next. They just keep going. Well, knowing where those zones are is going to really help you with your trading, because you're going to know where the liquidity is. So you'll know if you're going to have a second chance to capture that move or not, just by simply watching where that liquidity zone is. All right, so we had that big diamond on our 5-second chart. We are just under angular resistance now. We're in a channel based off that sucker, so now all we got to do is know where our regression line is. Let's go back into the regression line area. That takes us for that target of about 386.25. So we know where the range is. It's all defined. Now all we got to know is if it's going to break or if it's going to reverse. Not all descending wedges are reversals. This is one of those that can continue to run down to the bear side. We're going to know the moment it starts to take effect on our 5-second chart here. I'm going to zoom way in on that and get it right into that angular. There you go. Forget it, bulls. They're going to shoot for a retrace to about 387.88. Pretty damn close. We almost touched it with a wick.
11 o'clock coming up. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. It's got all those news events.
Yeah. It's going to be a cycle of psychosis. Notice we came back to our angular support in that descending wedge, touched it with a wick. This can be either a trend or a reversal right here, right now. And that 8 period is going to tell us a lot about what we need to know. There we go. Bulls a little bit more. Bam. 387.88 met. How did I know what that target was? Well, I saw the rounding bottom here. Treat it just like you would a double bottom. There's your R1. Breached, tested, went back through it. Target 1 just becomes up here, 387.80. Target 2, this bar, top, right there, 387.88. Any reversal, even on a 5-second chart, has targets. If you can trade it that fast, you've completed your journey. You can now trade profitably. Now, you can trade on any time frame, and there's you know, like we were just talking about earlier in our group here. There are people who don't even look at a 1-minute chart, let alone a 10-second chart. You know, they stop at the 5-minute chart. Nothing wrong with that. Just we look at it as the speed at which you can learn. Practicing that 5 and 10-second chart, recognizing all these patterns and trading them accordingly, just gives you that repetition. Later on when you've got an account that's lugging around a lot of a lot of buying power, so to speak, or a bigger account, your risk to reward ratio kind of has to tighten with that account as it grows. So like you can scalp all this stuff on a small account, and you can keep scalping it on a bigger account. You just got to be careful that you're respectful of the curve of risk to reward ratio, and that is not risk per trade to reward ratio. It's risk versus your entire account balance ratio. If you're taking size on something where you start trading like $30,000-$40,000 worth of equity at a time, you get bit once, it's going to sting. If you're looking at a $300 account and you're trading $20 or $40 at a time, it's a much higher risk to reward ratio, or a much higher percentage of your account balance. But you can take advantage of these little base hits over and over again. And that's the thing. If you're going to learn to do that, just learn to maintain those little base hits. You don't need to be greedy. As your account grows, move it into longer moving things, and then continue trading with your small account to scalp these little moves. All right, back to angular resistance. We had that bar through the 8 period. We're expecting that. We've had a nearly confirmed reversal at the bottom of this wedge. Where are the bulls going to target once it breaks? Well, 50%. It's going to take it up to about 388.75. Or somewhere in the top of this liquidity zone, which is generated by this candle right back here, that wick. There's liquidity there. Only if it gets out of that angular. Ooh, Busby. Evening Star. This is one of those three bar trade opportunities here. We'll let that bar complete first. When you get the third bar in an evening star like this, or a morning star, it gives you a trade opportunity. Usually the fourth bar will almost equal the size of the third bar, even if it closes a wick. Oftentimes they will start, if they're a evening star, they'll start to give you an opportunity right at the base of the third bar. This didn't complete a third bar. We got a pin bar. It's a different story. The range is still the same. Your entry would be 387.95, and your exit would be right up underneath the edge of that bar ordinarily. But this didn't give us an evening star. It gave us a pin bar with a hammer. Let's see, where did we see that one before? That's it right there. This was our morning star setup right here. This is what I'm talking about. First bar, spinner, second bar, or the third candle in a trade. Gives you the range for that trade. So your trade was from the top of this green candle down to just before the base of that green candle. Can you take it on momentum and hold it a few seconds longer? Sure, you could have. But your target was already there. That was a quick three-point move right there. Very fast trade. And we're back down. Angular support. Last chance for romance right here. Having one of those days where I'm not feeling 100%, so I'm not as talkative as I usually am. Got sick talking about butterflies. I knew that was going to come out. And Trace, when you learn a little bit more about those butterflies, man, they'll start to make more sense to you. All right, so we're at the base of this wedge on the 1 minute chart. Let's have a look at the 5 minute chart for a second. What does it really look like? You have your bearish bat harmonic up here. Its target base has already been met. We're still playing with that 388 pivot. And like I said, if we break that thing, we've got lots of pivots below to go to. If you want to talk about machine gunning pivots, they're all the way down to 382 in this case. Doesn't mean we're going to go bearish here. We're going to wait for the break. We're just talking about what could happen. The other possibility is this is also a known key support area. It can go back and hit a 50% retracement on yesterday's measured move that completed today. That's one leg, two legs. We could have a bull target of like 394. So don't rule it out. You can trade it either way. Today we will either get a bounce or a break.
Calculating.
Did that news just come out?
It's over with.
Ah. Market likes it a little bit.
Yep.
There's your double bottom.
Yep.
There's your R1. We pushed it.
Yep.
Target coming up. Liquidity box is right there. 388.40. Let me get Tesla on a 1 minute here because it's going to follow through back to the top of the range at least. I have a trigger at about 128 on Tesla to see if it's going to get back above it with momentum or not. By that I mean I might add to my long position and let that run up a little bit next week, hopefully, and then I'll start selling some call spreads against my debit spreads and rotate that into a butterfly, same as I did for Amazon. Right now, if you're ambitious enough, and this is a high risk trade because we're not sure what is going to come out with the earnings on Tesla, but we know that we've come through that liquidity box and tested the midpoint of it today. Let me get that on a 15-minute chart so I can put some perspective on this as SPY runs away. Anytime we come out of a liquidity zone and test it for support, we look for a test, a reach to about half of it, and a bounce. Ideally, I'd like to see tomorrow stay in this range, just under this 132 pivot, and hang around for essentially a head and shoulders from this breakover, or a triple bottom, support found and respected, and then trend out. If that remains bullish, we can expect a push to like 145 into next week. If it can't hold that area, if it breaks back down, well, we know where the lower end of the range is, down in here. We'll be trading between like 115 and 120, 122 respectively. All right, back into liquidity box. SPY hit right to the top of it with a wick. Let me extend that thing. Gotta love how accurate those are, dude. All we had to do is shade an area on a wick and bring it to the right. That is the simplest charting you could ever imagine right there. Like the idea of the bar spinner bar, and if that does hit the bar spinner bar, it stops about 388.80 and gives us some bullish continuation to possibly push that 389 pivot. There we go. Bam, 388.90 met, just like that. Yay, the porn bots found us. Go away. Hide. Don't make me report you. As if it'll do anything.
Pretty big push from that bottom, isn't it?
It is.
Where did it go again? That liquidity zone we were talking about, right?
Well, it smashed through it.
They found it a nice bottom at 39.05 right there, and just boom, push it right back into VWAP. You know.
Well, we've hit our 50% retracement target right here on this descending wedge. The only next thing we can root for is the in between, which is that 389.15. That's just between these two big red bars over here. Happens to be about halfway between our supply zone and our demand zone.
So if you draw a trend line right there, we just rejected off of it.
Yeah.
Very close. But I still want to see price come up to 39.30. 39.30. That's my.
That's where that liquidity zone is from yesterday.
Mhm.
The top of it, anyway.
Yep. That's why I'm looking at that area, because there is a micro price gap there. Not a big one, but it's a micro one. It's about $2. You know, so it's not $2 is significant. But
Gives
we
us
might
that.
make it down to 39.11 again.
Gives us that respect our range.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Respect my authority.
We know where all the limits are.
Respect my authority.
All right, back on top of that liquidity zone. This becomes a demand zone now. See if we get some limit orders in here. They're going to be buying right there. Sorry I'm not as animated today as I usually am. I'm just kind of feeling
I'm the
blah
same.
today.
Me too.
Yeah, and I'm a little sad too. One of my best friends
Why?
lost a dog
What's
last
going
night.
on,
So
man?
I'm
Oh
sorry.
wow, that's sad.
yeah. Yeah, bowel obstruction, and he had the dog in for surgery to get the bowel obstruction taken care of, and they couldn't get it, so everything went septic, and yeah, had to put the dog down. Very
Oh
sad.
wow.
All right, we're in the liquidity zone. Buyers failed to take that up, but look at the center of that zone is right at about 388.60. If we can hold the center of that zone, cool, the buyers will take it over again. But if not, this gets retraced back down to 388 again. Looks like they held for now. Give that a second. Let that close. It's another one of those wait for the break signals right there. Damn, dude, we're just getting pummeled with these stupid spam bots in our chat on the YouTube channel. Hate those. You ever see Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? Like some forum where people were like talking crap about him. At the end of the movie, they made millions, so they spent their money flying around the country beating the crap out of people who were talking crap about him. I'd love to do that to the people who put these stupid porn bots out to work. Sorry, that's mean and violent, but you know what? They deserve it. There's better ways to make money out there, guys. That's why we're here. All right, bottom liquidity. Whoa! Look how fast they turned that around.
Yeah, we hit the 20 on the 1 minute.
Not quite. The 20's down here at
Oh, I'm looking at no pre-market data.
oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
The 20's at 388.27 on a 1 minute SPY chart.
Oh, you do no pre-market data?
I don't use pre-market during market data. Unless I'm looking like the ES and one of those indicators I have, so I count the pre-market because I can bounce it off of the non-pre-market, real-time trading data only.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, for moving averages, not in a scalping scenario, but in a longer holding scenario, I use the pre-market.
That's a good point.
So let's see here.
Sig's talking about lotto plays, and I like to do the lotto butterfly every now and then. And the thing to understand about trading butterflies is that high implied volatility actually makes them cheaper. When the implied volatility fades, they get more expensive. So if you open them for a credit, or if you can leg them into a credit, the closer to earnings, the better. The higher implied volatility you're going to have in that, the crush is going to pay you later on. So if you're going into a long butterfly, that's the way to be. A short butterfly is a different story.
see that gap.
Treasury began using debt limit special measures today. That debt ceiling noise is going to be what makes or breaks the market. And if they try to deadlock that for too long, you'll see some bearish moves. That's just kind of normal. But if they raise the
They're
debt
just gonna
ceiling,
raise. They're just gonna raise the debt ceiling again.
oh, I'm sure.
And
They'll do it. They'll try to
see,
deadlock
that's
it to the
only way-
last minute.
That's the only way to keep. That's the only way to keep this, country moving is always raising the debt ceiling. You raise the debt ceiling,
Mhm.
people go out, they spend more money, and they get more debt, and then they pay interest on their T-shirts that they bought
Yep.
because you financed through a firm, and something else.
That's it. Here's your 50% retracement line from this rise. Yeah, it's funny how that works. But then the only difference for the market standpoint right now is that whether they raise the debt ceiling or not is irrelevant. The fact that the Fed said they're going to try to pivot from QE through 2023 here, that's a leading factor. So yes, if the debt ceiling's raised, that's cool, but they're not going to be pumping the market with it as much. So that's kind of the chart kind of plays into that right now. It comes to that point. We had that fifth attack on the angular resistance and we pulled back. Doesn't mean the game's over and we're going bearish. It just means we're likely to consolidate until that decision is made about the debt ceiling.
Yeah.
It's going to come out right as the year-long resistance line hits that 327 point, and then we're going to see an explosion or a collapse.
Right. That'll make or break the
Because all the news hits at those peak points, right?
Yep. You know it. We got a 115.
What I find very interesting is, even if they raise the debt ceiling, at the end of the day, who's holding that debt? Some of it's other countries, some of it's us as citizens.
Yeah.
But unless we have a negative birth rate, they can just keep doing that indefinitely because the money is all fictional at the end of the day. It's just whatever we all value the dollar as and what we're willing to trade for it. But if GDP doesn't continue to rise with it, then we're effed. Because at some point, unless the government's making everything free for all of us, there's just no money circulating anymore.
Well,
That's
who will
what's
be hurt
happening in
first
China, right?
for the contractors, right? Because they're the ones that get the government money to begin with.
yeah.
That's what's happening to China, right?
Right. The concept of the government having money is the point in argument that you need to know. Government doesn't have any money. That's our money.
Mm-hmm. My money, biatch.
And they want to give you free stuff. They're just doing it to buy your votes. But whose money is it? It's your money. They're using your money to buy your votes.
Yeah,
It's a
I was
big game.
in a debate with someone over the loan forgiveness programs.
Yeah.
Because someone literally went into a public sector intentionally to get their loans voided out at after 10 years of public service,
Right.
and they racked up something like $150,000 in student loans, and I was like, "What the hell, dude? How do
Jeez.
you rack up that much unless you're going to some prestigious school? And if you're doing that, you're intentionally doing that to foist your bill off on everyone else after 10 years, doing your minimum payments. That is messed up. From just a responsibility standpoint, you're intentionally screwing others
Yeah.
just to get your education paid for. I'm like, I'm fine with education being free and we're all paying for it because everyone's getting access to it, but when it's just a select few, that's really screwed up.
You got to pay the piper when the rats are gone, one way or another. But the rats just keep multiplying.
Yeah, they do.
The
And then they
pipers.
try to argue with me about the fact that, education is important and what about, EPA regulations? Who's going to be your regulators that know how to look at this stuff and yada yada. And immediately I said, you're talking to the wrong person. I have someone who works for the EPA in my family, and guess what? They pay their own college fees back themselves. They didn't get a magic wipe clean of the debt.
Right.
That didn't exist until recently.
I don't think anyone's debt should be wiped out. If you made it, you got to pay it.
Yep.
Right,
You
just
know?
like that film school girl who accumulated $250,000 in debt to go to the best film school in the entire country. But how many positions are out there to fill for the education that you get in that specific niche? There's just no demand. If you're going into a no demand thing and you accumulate a ton of debt to do it, that's on you. You're just an idiot.
Yeah, that's what I tell my kids. I'm like, if you're gonna go put debt into learning to take a trade, then it better be worthwhile. It better have lots of openings, lots of opportunity, and you better be able to pay back the debt on it.
What's really funny is it translates to options too, right? Like in the job market. So like if you buy an option that's got low volume, you could
Right.
potentially get stuck in a bad situation, just like you would in life if you go into a low demand job with high debt.
Pretty much. Same concept, different instrument.
Now, what do you guys think about credit card debt rollover?
Oh,
Like if you die, are your children responsible for paying your credit card debt?
No, that's screwed up. They didn't do anything. They didn't accrue that
who
debt. Why should they be responsible for it?
there's risk to reward. Who took the risk? The creditors did. They risked against reward that you'll pay back the debt. What people fail to realize is if you're carrying revolving debt through your lifespan, they no longer have to care about the risk after a while because the risk, just like wheel trading, becomes a zero cost basis and eventually a negative cost basis. They don't care. So why should they be lobbying for a law to roll that debt over to the siblings, or to the not to the siblings, but to the remaining family, the survivors? It's ridiculous. It's just another way to prolong the cycle and keep earning after a negative cost basis. It's the same thing as a wheel trade. It's just the creditor's game. I have all this money, I'm going to rent it to you. Same with any kind of lending, really.
Because I figured, I'm gonna start applying for a lot of credit cards, get a lot of credit card, available, and then just live off credit cards for the rest of my life.
Just run it up, yeah. When you
Yeah.
die, who cares? It gets canceled anyway.
Yeah,
In the meantime, you've paid interest on it, and unbeknown to you, you've already paid for what you would have bought anyway.
exactly.
So
Well, it just depends on, are you leaving anything behind that creditors could attack, because some
Right.
debt is secured, some is not. Unsecured debt, I would argue, none of your personal assets can be touched, but your secured debt, like if you rang up like a ton of debt and then you got your family living in some mansion that you bought on credit cards, that mansion could be taken away, and that'd be pretty messed up to do.
well, that's a
No,
whole.
I'm gonna sell, liquidate every fucking thing and just spend it all, man. I'm gonna blow it, I
Yeah.
worked for
Hey,
it, I'm gonna blow
you'll be
it.
driving the economy and helping out everyone else's businesses, and you'll be living large until you're ready to die.
Exactly. That's the thought
The
process there.
key is knowing when you're gonna
I told
die.
my son, I'm like, hey man, you gotta do your thing.
Right.
Don't be leaning on, oh, daddy's got this properties and all this money, daddy's gonna leave me that. That is not gonna leave you shit.
Nope.
You gotta go do it.
Well, that's where I come in. I'm like, why not leverage your assets to use your assets to make more money? And
Yeah.
then either way, you can go and buy anything you want. You can't take it with you, but you can roll it over to your survivors. So you can
Yeah.
leave a legacy. And that's the thing. I don't want to leave my kids like a straight trust fund and have them become trustafarians, I call them. Where they go and blow it all and end up, right back to square zero by their mid 30s. That's not the
Key,
way.
if you're in a trust fund, is to be like, you're allowed to get the ability to spend the dividends. After
Right.
that, it continues growing on its own. You don't get to you take out the assets, and this gets to be handed down generation of generation.
Exactly.
But I don't know how you actually draw all that up. I'd have to talk to a trust person. But that was something what I was considering for my eldest daughter, because even though she kind of is starting to understand the concept of money, she has exhibited so far no self-control with anything at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
She's so impulse driven that I'm like terrified about when she becomes an adult. I'm like, I have to figure out something for you. And she's highly, highly, highly intelligent, and she used to be much more articulate than she is now. But I feel like either she has ADD or it's her being on the spectrum right now that's kind of impacting her in ways that could limit her ability to raise up to certain levels. I would think. Obviously, she's only 5, right? This is a really premature judgment, but I'm just saying, like, from what I've been noticing, if this continues on, she may need some assistance on getting through her lifespan. And at that point, I may have to consider actually like doing something like a trust. But my other kid, like, she's so with it that I'm like, yeah, you could be like a CEO or something. You don't need help.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I can only wheel trade until I kick the bucket. How do I keep that going? You know, so I got to teach my kids how to do it.
That's right. Well, actually, teaching the mini trading is really important because
Yeah.
even me, I had no experience with quote unquote trading right when I started my career and started getting money, but I did have the concept of buying shares, continuously as I could, and then I also realized that guess what? I started my career in a bear market, so every dollar I put in the market, I watched it lose money, but I knew once that bear market ended, once we did a recovery, I would be making bank. And within 4 years of working, I went to my first $100,000, and I was only contributing $10,000-$15,000 a year.
Right.
So it was amazing to me because I was just like, wow, I had literally more than doubled my money over this period, just because I was in a bear market and I can continuously bought and bought and bought. And that, in a way, that is kind of like a wheel trade, right? Even though I didn't sell the shares, I was willing to continue averaging down on decent companies that are part of the S&P 500, knowing the S&P 500 generally just goes up. And so once I get out of it, I'm gonna be all right.
Right.
And then obviously I'm willing to sell them because I got into more trading and options and all that stuff.
Yeah, I
And
did the same exact thing. I got in my first share. I actually bought it was 2007. That's when I started buying, and that was in the bottom of the market really. So I started there, and then every 2 years I took money out basically, and I bought a new property. Yeah.
That was a good time to be buying property too. I bought my first house in 2011. It didn't appreciate very much, but it did double in value by the time I sold it 2 years ago, which
Yep.
gave me a little bit of down payment on this current home. I would have actually considered renting out my old property, but unfortunately, the neighborhood I was in, all the rental properties just got smashed and trashed every year. So I was like, I'm not willing to deal
Yeah.
with that. But this new property I'm in, if we decide to move out of it, I'd be willing to rent it out. This thing is only going to appreciate just because of the location. We're in a really good school district. The neighborhood is really nice, and the kind of rental income I could command for that
Yeah.
is like around 2,200, 2,400 a month, which is sick.
Yep.
Yes, like I did the opposite. So I got in on the ghetto neighborhoods, man.
Same here.
So if you
Same
were,
here.
if somebody came up and said, "Oh, there's a house for sale in this neighborhood," I'm like, "Okay, is this a shitty neighborhood? Yes, it is. I'm buying it." Because over time that shitty neighborhood became one of the best neighborhoods, and my property values went up 3 to 4-fold.
Yep.
Seriously, if you can like hold through a 10-year period, neighborhoods change and shift all the time. In fact, Northside Richmond used to be a complete terrible place, and it's now getting renovated left and right. Every single one of those Victorian homes,
I
you don't know where that is, but like Jeremy does,
Yep.
is getting much more beautified. Even though the school districts and in general you still have some projects around there, everything that's getting redone is looking awesome, and crime is actually going down in that area as a result.
You're talking about Richmond?
Yeah, Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I lived in DC for 20 years, so I know Richmond really well.
Yeah, well, Northside Richmond was known as like one of the most dangerous areas of Richmond, and now it's like getting renovated constantly, and all those old Victorian homes out there are getting restored and looking super, super beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like attracting a lot of hipsters in that area because the homes are still somewhat cheapish. And then you have like renovations in close by areas like Scott's Addition, which has now become like a hangout spot. So if you're like a young hipster, that's like where you go to drink and hang out with your friends, and then you go back to Northside and maybe continue drinking some more.
I'm
Just
actually.
look into is there a Whole Foods coming out that way? Because if there's a Whole Foods, then just buy it, man. If
Oh
Whole
yeah,
Foods is open in your neighborhood, just do
that
it.
and Trader Joe's, right?
Yep.
If you Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and if you start seeing gay couples moving in,
Oh,
it's definitely,
Ah. Sorry
Hey,
about
I
that.
know where that picture was.
Yeah. Well, that's my background. Here, I'll minimize it, show it off.
So now you just gotta get a ramp there and see if they can land on one of those pontoons.
Exactly.
I've yet to go out on one of the pontoons, but I kind of want to do that one day. Either that or I want to get a kayak and kind of like go out on a lake at some point.
It's a lot of
But
fun.
I want to buy a kayak because I don't use it enough.
We've got a fleet of kayaks. We use them every year.
I tried to get one on was it Buy Nothing? No, or no, maybe it was Craigslist. Someone was just like 2 kayaks for free or whatever. But then I told my wife, like, look, I can get it for like easy, maybe $50 worth of gas. I can go out here and get this thing. And she's like, yeah, but what are we gonna do with it? Where are we gonna store it? And I was like, we just
Yep.
put it underneath the house, man.
That's
Whenever
always
we
the
need it.
gripe. Where are you going to put it? Well, I got plenty of places to put things.
I'll figure it out.
That's right.
That's what I tell
That's
my
right,
wife.
she won't let me
That's
get a
what I tell
weight
my wife.
bench.
I'm like, what are you gonna do with it? I'll figure it out.
Yep.
She won't let me pick up a weight bench because she's like, where are you gonna put it? I'm like, dude, we'll rip out some stuff in the garage. We'll throw things away that I don't use as tools or don't need anymore. Then I have a spot that I can work out because you know what? It's been we've lived here almost 2 years now, and I've yet to get a membership at that gym to
Yep.
work out, and I want to get fit again.
Now, for me, it's I've been kind of blessed in that nature because my wife signed up for a gym and she's been hard at it 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. And
That's
Is she
awesome.
like?
My kids don't let me do that yet.
Is she doing bodybuilding now?
she's mainly just doing stuff to stay fit, and she has some back problems, so strengthening her core has been the number one goal to help alleviate back pain.
Oh yeah.
And she just took the ball and ran with it. So now she's like at the gym every, 5 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, 4 hours a day, doing her routine. And it's like half cardio, half strength training.
Yeah.
Damn, man, I should
get
have bought
it.
some puts yesterday instead of calls. I was juggling that a little bit, and then I looked at the big red bar. I was like, we're going to do a retracement, buy some calls. If I bought puts and we just continue today, I'd be rich.
I try to have a balance of both. Like I'll go like with my Amazon, that's a in a butterfly. I'm not worried about that. Tesla here, I can go on either side of the fence, but I'm actually looking to kind of structure that a little differently. If it can bounce off the bottom of the liquidity zone here, cool. I still have a sneaking suspicion that there's going to be an earnings surprise coming out of that just by looking at the Q4 figures on the outside.
I mean, they had all that backed up inventory. It's all gone. So there
Yep.
better be pretty good Q4 numbers. And then if you think about it, extrapolating that to other services like your insurance, your charging network, and full self-driving, if anyone took up on that, like that's all reoccurring subscription revenue. That's
Yep.
like high margin. So I don't know, man. To me, the Tesla story, even though they've had all this like insane negative stuff happening, I still think that in general they're going to be fine. And Elon is probably done selling for a while, so
Yeah.
now's the time to be gobbling that up.
Yep. That's the way I see it. And worst case scenario, I can rotate my spreads into a butterfly just like I did with Amazon and just sit on them. I can move my capital to do other things.
Yeah, I have. What kind of spread do I have? I don't know if I can rotate to butterfly yet, but I was looking into that because there's a few positions I was looking at butterflying, and one of them was the SPY positions I recently opened up, but I can't get it to make sense yet because we're going the wrong direction. But with Tesla, let's see here. I had. Where's my spread? Hello?
Should be there. Let's see.
Oh, there it is. Okay. So I had the 135 out to February and the 140. It was profitable yesterday, but now it's not profitable today. But if we don't keep just grinding downwards, I was thinking about buying the 145 and selling the 140, which would then turn it into a butterfly and free up a lot of capital.
I think I'm gonna
Wait, this is a
go-
put spread. Does that make sense?
You get a put spread on Tesla or a call spread?
It's a put spread, so that wouldn't make sense. I would need to have already had the 145 because it would be more expensive for me to buy that.
Right.
Damn it! I opened up the wrong side.
I'll say.
I could make it a iron butterfly and and buy the 135 and sell the 130.
Yeah.
If it
You can-
comes up.
That's the great thing about options position. You can basically convert them into anything. It's not just a buy it and sell it type of situation. You can convert it into things that lock in profit. And once you learn how to do that, man, everything else just becomes easy. Because you can convert that into a lock it down position, let it roll.
All right, what's going to go on here?
We're going down. That bear sandwich right there, man.
Gonna go see Sean Patton at the Sandman tonight. He's funny.
Where's the Sandman? I never even heard of that location.
It's in Richmond. I think it is in the. It's like at the edge of Scott's Edition, I think.
Ah, okay.
Let me see.
Oh, I closed my Mullen, well, one of my Mullen positions yesterday, and I'm kind of glad I did it because it's down another 3 or 4 cents since I did that.
Nice.
But and it was the one that had the more risk of going negative as far as profitability, whereas the one that I left open is still deep in the money
Don't want to go
because
down.
it goes down to a 15-cent cost basis. So it would take a serious problem with Mullen to drive it back down to that low. Because even when I started the Mullen trade, it wasn't that cheap. But my problem now is I don't know what's going to happen with the reverse split. So I wanted to be out of this position entirely, but I just couldn't do it.
Right. Actually, it's right in the middle of Richmond.
All right, this is going to be the last minute of this 5-minute candle.
Right,
When do we
it's-
find out whether or not their reverse split actually takes effect if they do it?
They'll
'Cause
announce it.
There's nothing on the news yet that says that they are doing it today like they're supposed to.
It'll be a day or two later. All right, we crawled down to that angular. I marked it in red, and I did one of those unorthodox trend lines right through this mess.
Look at that.
I even borrowed one of the lines from the descending wedge to do it. But you could trace this thing back. It goes all the way up past all this stuff. On top of this, under that. And here we are consolidating around that zone between the key pivot of 388 and that angular that I have here. Where's that angular come from? It's one of those skews that Webull does to me, but it's relevant. It's actually supposed to be the bottom of the channel for the diamond, but don't tell anybody. Anyway,
Oh, you drew your diamonds in purple.
well, I did the one in purple, but I had to differentiate the other diamond on the 2-hour chart from the daily diamond, so I had to make sure I changed the color on it.
Oh yeah, I see that.
We keep flirting with that line. We'll see if we bounce off of it, but this accumulation is going to be key right here. It'll either make or break this day. Like I said, it's
I'm looking
no
at-
man's land for swing traders. But if you're able to take a neutral options position on this price action, you can work that. You can work some things into condors. You can work some things into going into a butterfly or whatever.
I'm just watching my SPY position, man. It is just tanking. I have so many different SPY plays that are going. They're all losing now.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm already at $2,000 loss with potentially more to come, but I don't think I can get higher than 2,500. So that's pretty painful. But
yeah, that's rough.
it was all because I wiggled out of positions that I shouldn't have wiggled out of, and I should have just left everything alone, and I would have been in so much better of a place. And then I decided that, oh, I'm a genius. We fell down so hard, and then we're going to retrace tomorrow. Let's buy up a bunch of calls and then close them in the morning. Oh wait, we gapped down. Oh no, I can't sell a short on the, the right side of the call now. Great. And if I do, I'm opening myself to more risk when I'm already losing. Let's just stop. And then now I'm watching everything decay.
Oh,
Yeah, that kind of sucks.
It does. It does. Still
I'm
not a
watching-
tattoo
I'm
chef
watching
loss
that-
though.
I'm watching that moving average slowly approach right there. I just posted it on ES. And I posted this yesterday and the day before with my divergence calls. Like last 2 days, I've been calling out that 38.76 level. On
You got
ES,
38.76.
coming right there, man. The moment that blue line, that gray line crosses that red line, this thing's gonna,
I don't know, because is that a sound effect, a rocket ship going up, or is it a boulder tumbling down a cliff?
that was all all tumbling down, man.
It's a
Okay.
knife. It's a knife coming through the neck. There it is.
All tumbling down. Look at that. Look at that break. Look at that break. We just made a new low. So,
Yep.
dum 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 dum.
That was a big break there. See if it holds.
38.76 is coming.
But yeah, one thing I've learned through this last little snafu of just burning a couple $1,000s is like I don't have the right discipline that I need to have for day trading or weekly trading. And so what I'm going to be doing instead is focusing back on things that were working for me, which is option selling. And if I'm going to do a buy, it's only because fundamentally we have just gone so far in the wrong direction that then I can buy and then consider, converting it into some spread way out into the future.
Right.
And maybe I'll start getting closer to tighter and tighter time frames, but I don't know. My daily skills are so hit and miss.
I got
I think I'm gonna stop doing it, just period, for a while.
I got so many trend lines to wipe off in my SPY chart. Oh,
I did that recently this morning, actually. I meant to just do it on one chart because I thought that you could do it on one chart, but when you hit that trash can, it blows them all away.
I'm just gonna do it now.
Just click on clean chart.
Poof. Delete. Yep.
But I'm
Gone.
finally starting to use MACD and RSI in tandem together pretty well with moving average lines, that I'm starting to feel comfortable knowing when to get in and out of trades for like monthly time spans. So I might actually start swinging on the month side now, because so far everything's been looking pretty good on paper. So maybe I can start doing it with real cash soon.
There you go. All right, I got my
Hey,
1
do you
minute
use TOS for your charting?
Do I
This
use what for charting?
TOS?
No, I use Webull, but I do use TOS for certain indicators that I don't get on Webull. Like when I say certain indicators, like my own like Sig has all these different like moving average like things that he does and toss and stuff that for like daily moves and all that stuff, and then he has like bars that kind of show how far it is off of a moving average range. I use toss for something similar to that, and I use it for the economic calendar, or at least I used to, but it's been broken the last 7 times I've tried to look at the economic calendar, so I have switched to using MarketWatch's economic calendar. But for the most part, I'm still trying to learn toss because I want to actually try to enhance the scanner to find things that I would like to look for, and I don't know if you can even adjust that or not. I'm assuming that you can because there's a lot of programmable stuff in the interface that you can do, but I just haven't tinkered.
Rear scanners are awesome.
Yeah, I want to try to use it for finding things that have like kind of consolidated into a range for a period of time so that I can find better breakout plays. And I don't know if they already have something like that because, again, I haven't really looked at TOS enough to know how to do it. It's just I've gotten scared of it just because there's just so much stuff to learn so rapidly in it that I just have set it to the side. But if someone can say, yeah, you can easily look out for breakout plays, I would love to hear how you do that, because that's kind of like the foundation for how I want to find entry points now for long or short positions.
Yeah.
But I've been just reading tons of books and watching lots of videos related to like, these U.S. championship, investor things or trader championship things and like their strategies. And some of them make sense, and some of them, they don't really articulate enough for me to be able to follow them. But like, I want to, try to employ some of them.
I don't know why it's so hard to get a pivot point to the penny on this. I can't get it. It's like 1 cent off. It drives me nuts. I got that 382 down, but I need to get the 388 on there. Just couldn't put some key pivots on my chart and trade from there. We'll make a couple trend lines. That's about it. I just needed to get rid of all that crap. It was just annoying me. There we go. That's all we really need to know. And then we just add some shady zones for our liquidity boxes, and that's all we need. Trend lines can come later. I wish there was a way to just delete the trend lines, though, and then leave all the other stuff alone, but that's not going to happen. So anyway, I think I'm going to wrap up the YouTube stream here. Not the most exciting day. It's just been kind of a slow descending range day for us, but we got some good price action on the 5-second chart this morning. We had some moves we were able to make that's just it. This is a choppy day, very hard to trade. Day traders only type of thing. This is no man's land for swing traders. And we just wait, sit on your hands until you get a swing trade set up. There's a couple starting to kind of come together. That Tesla one I keep talking about is kind of on the radar. Amazon is kind of following the market, so it's like, well, you can take it or leave it. But, you know, more often than not, we can find a setup on Amazon. Ideally, it hangs around support here and starts to climb out into a trend leading up to earnings, I think is on February 2nd. And if we can start playing with this range bar here, that's kind of cool. It gives us a target of like, 105. If it gets even better than that, there's a big gap to 110.80 right in this mix on the daily chart. So if we can swing that, cool. Watch for consolidation here with a quick breakout. Amazon can do it. Chart tells us it's got that oomph, but I think this is leading up to earnings. I think once we see earnings, I don't know if they've had a great Q4 or not. I know Tesla did, but we'll see what happens. The general market, SPY, going to roll with, all these Q4 earnings reports are going to have a great effect on SPY. We don't know if it's going to be up or down, but looking at the daily chart, we know we're kind of in the end of the diamond pattern, right in that point. Probably by about first week of February, we're going to have some answers whether this diamond's going to break bullish or bearish.
Didn't we already kick off earnings season, and doesn't it usually start with a lot of financial companies?
Yep, we got the banks out of the way. Some of them are mixed.
Yeah, and they ported, the ones that do a lot of credit card stuff, they got ripped apart. Like Citigroup got destroyed. I think I haven't looked at the other ones, but I'm assuming that some of them actually did all right. I thought JP Morgan Chase was like kind of mixed.
JP Morgan was mixed, and I had a bit of a bearish bias on that, and it just didn't come through. But I did have a bias mark on Capital One. I knew that was breaking over. That did really
The Wells
good.
Fargo report yet? Because I would think since they're such a heavy mortgage lender, they would get crushed.
Right. That's the thing. We're at the edge of when forbearance is coming due on a lot of people who went into forbearance. And that's going to be a lump sum that a lot of people can't afford. That kind of scares me about the mortgage market. And
they report on the 13th. So yeah, theirs was disappointing. Wow. They set aside $957 million for credit losses.
Wow. That's the thing. It's like, I've been there when living paycheck to paycheck. Sometimes you got to call up your mortgager and be like, hey man, I need to skip a payment or two. Can you put it on the end of the loan? And they're usually fine to work with that. They'll do up to 3, most of them. When it comes to forbearance, that's a different story. That payment doesn't get moved to the end of the loan. It doesn't just add, a couple, 3 months on your loan. Instead, it's forbearance until it comes to a head. And when that time comes due, the agreed upon time in that forbearance period, you got to pay a lump sum of everything you missed up to that point.
Wow, Wells Fargo's net income tumbled 50% to $2.86 billion from $5.75 billion last year.
That's rough.
That is rough.
So yeah, there's a lot of headwind in the market. We know that. And I think the rest of Q4 earnings is going to be all about retail sectors coming out starting next week. I'm not feeling the greatest this morning anyway. I'm just kind of hanging out here. So, the market's
How
been
the hell is Wells Fargo still at $42 a share after that disappointing loss?
Well, they are also on the back end and just another investment bank, just like JPM. Hopefully they're smart and they've hedged their positions with something other than swaps. Bear sandwich, I like that one. Nom, 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 nom. The bear burger.
Yeah, you see, I mean, the bear sandwich, when that happens, man, you're going to have a breakdown and then possibly a small little pullback on it. And it's exactly what happened here on the NQ.
Yep.
We went down. We came right back to test the breakout of the bear, which is what I call that, open bar gap.
Right.
We tested that back. And now are we gonna get continuation? I believe so.
Yeah, I think so.
Because he hasn't hit my target yet.
It's still got room to run. Well, we're going to say goodbye to YouTube. See you guys tomorrow. So hopefully we'll have a good trend day tomorrow. I would love that. That would make my day. And we can
Tomorrow's
get,
gonna be the bullish of the bullish Fridays you can see, man.
yeah, it might be. Because we've got a good chance of completing a third leg measure move we're talking about, or even a half third leg measured move we're talking about for the bear side. So SPY has got to come back and recover some of that, or otherwise we're in deep doo-doo. Anyway, thanks for joining us on YouTube, guys. Have a good afternoon, and we'll see you tomorrow.